Imagine this. Someone you trusted, someone you cared for, suddenly hurts you. Maybe he ignored you, lied to you, or made you feel like you didn't matter. The pain is real and the confusion is overwhelming. But here's the twist. What if, instead of reacting with anger or sadness, you could turn the tables? What if you could make him second guess everything, leaving him completely baffled? Most people react the way he expects, crying, begging, arguing. But today you're going to learn something different. You're going to learn how to confuse him in a way that keeps you in control, a way that shifts the power back to you. This isn't about revenge. It's about standing in your strength, keeping your dignity, and making sure he knows he can't play with your emotions. In this video, we're going to reveal psychological techniques that most people don't talk about. These are not the usual ignore him and move on tips. No, we're diving deeper into tactics that will make him wonder what's going on, that will make him chase after you instead of walking away. Some of these methods are backed by psychology, others are drawn from real-life experiences, and all of them are powerful if used correctly. By the end of this video, you'll have a new way of handling emotional pain, one that leaves you in control, calm, and unpredictable. You'll understand why men act the way they do when they hurt you, and more importantly, how to respond in a way that leaves them speechless. So, if you've ever been hurt by a man and wondered, what should I do now? Keep watching, because you're about to learn something that could change everything. Welcome to Goddard Vision, where we unlock the power of the mind and emotions to transform your reality. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a life-changing video. Now, let's dive in. Emotional manipulation is a silent game, played in shadows, often unnoticed until the damage is done. It's when someone twists words, actions, or emotions to control how you think, feel, or react. The worst part? You might not even realize it's happening. The signs are subtle, the tactics clever, and before you know it, you're doubting yourself, questioning your worth, and feeling trapped in a cycle you never agreed to. One of the most common manipulation tactics is guilt tripping. This happens when a man makes you feel responsible for his emotions or actions. If you really loved me, you wouldn't do this. Or, after everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me? These words are designed to make you feel guilty, to make you second guess your choices, and most importantly, to bend to his will. The truth? You are not responsible for anyone else's emotions. Guilt is a powerful tool, and manipulators know exactly how to use it. Another dangerous tactic is gaslighting. This is when someone makes you doubt your own reality. He'll say things like, "That never happened," or "You're just being too sensitive." Over time, you start questioning yourself. Did it really happen the way you remember? Are you being unreasonable? The more you hear it, the more you begin to believe it, and that's the trap. Because once you stop trusting your own perception, he gains full control. Silent treatment is another classic move. When a man suddenly withdraws, stops talking, and acts cold without explanation, it forces you into a state of anxiety. You start overthinking, replaying every interaction, trying to figure out what you did wrong. But here's the thing. You didn't do anything wrong. The silent treatment is a way of punishing you, of making you feel desperate for his attention so that when he finally does speak, you're too relieved to notice the manipulation. Then there's love bombing. At first, it feels like a dream. He showers you with compliments, gifts, and attention, making you feel like the most special person in the world. But it's not love, it's control. Because once you're hooked, once you're emotionally invested, the dynamic shifts. The affection becomes conditional, the kindness turns into demands, and suddenly you're working overtime just to get back the person he pretended to be. Recognizing these tactics is your greatest weapon. Once you see the patterns, they lose their power. When someone tries to guilt trip you, remind yourself their feelings are not your responsibility. When gaslighting begins, trust your memory, your experiences. If the silent treatment starts, resist the urge to chase after an explanation. And if love bombing happens, stay grounded. Real love doesn't come with an agenda. Emotional manipulation thrives on confusion. It works best when you don't understand what's happening. But now you do. And that changes everything. Silence is powerful. In a world where people expect instant reactions, not responding can be the most unsettling move you can make. When a man hurts you, he might expect anger, tears, or confrontation. He might expect you to beg for answers or lash out in frustration. But what happens when you do none of that? What happens when you remain calm, unshaken, and indifferent? It confuses him. It forces him to question his own power over you. Most people react emotionally when they feel hurt. It's human nature. We want to defend ourselves, to explain, to make the other person understand the pain they've caused. But here's the truth. Some people don't care. They aren't looking for a heartfelt conversation. They're looking for control. And the moment you react, you give them exactly what they want. Imagine this. A man says something cruel, expecting you to explode. He's prepared for the argument. He's planned his defense. But instead of reacting, you pause. You don't get angry. You don't cry. You simply look at him, unbothered, and say, okay. Suddenly, the power dynamic shifts. His words no longer have the effect he intended, and that bothers him. When you choose non-reaction, you take away their ability to manipulate your emotions. They don't get the satisfaction of seeing you break. They don't get to feel superior because they got a reaction out of you. Instead, they're left in a state of discomfort, wondering why their usual tactics aren't working. One of the strongest forms of non-reaction is emotional detachment. This doesn't mean you suppress your feelings or pretend you're unaffected. It means you process your emotions privately, without giving the other person the satisfaction of witnessing them. It's about controlling your outward response, even if you're feeling everything internally. Think of it like a game of chess. If your opponent makes an aggressive move, they expect you to react impulsively. But the best players don't rush. They take a step back, assess the situation, and respond in a way that benefits them. In relationships, the same principle applies. When you don't react right away, you give yourself time to think. You regain control over your emotions and you make better decisions. Another key aspect of non-reaction is mastering body language. Words aren't the only way people gauge reactions. They watch your facial expressions, your posture, your tone. If a man says something hurtful and you flinch, look down, or fidget, he knows he got to you, even if you don't say a word. But if you maintain steady eye contact, keep your posture relaxed, and respond with something neutral like, "That's interesting," you leave him guessing. He doesn't know what you're thinking, and that uncertainty is unsettling. This strategy is especially effective with manipulative people. They rely on emotional responses to fuel their tactics. They want to see you upset, to provoke you into saying something they can use against you later. But when you remain calm, when you refuse to engage in their emotional chaos, they lose their advantage. Of course, non-reaction doesn't mean allowing disrespect. It doesn't mean staying silent when boundaries need to be set. It simply means choosing when and how to respond in a way that serves you best. Sometimes the best response is no response at all. Other times it's a simple, controlled statement that ends the conversation before it even begins. And the most powerful part, when you master the art of non-reaction, you not only confuse the person trying to hurt you, you also regain control over your own emotions. You stop letting others dictate how you feel. You stop giving your energy to people who don't deserve it. And in the end, that's the greatest victory of all. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors with locks. They don't keep people out. They decide who gets in. And when a man tries to hurt you, nothing confuses him more than a woman who refuses to let him dictate her emotions, her time, or her self-worth. When you set clear boundaries, you make it known that you will not tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or inconsistency. And that kind of strength is unsettling to someone who is used to crossing lines without consequence. Many people struggle with boundaries because they fear rejection. They worry that saying no will push someone away or make them seem difficult. But here's the truth. People who respect you will respect your boundaries. And the ones who don't, they were never meant to stay in your life to begin with. Boundaries are filters. They separate those who value you from those who only seek to use you. A man who enjoys control will test your boundaries. He'll push just a little at first, ignoring your discomfort, making jokes at your expense, or dismissing your feelings. If you don't push back, he learns that you are willing to bend. He learns that your no is really a maybe, and that your I don't like that is really I'll tolerate it if you keep doing it. But when you stand firm, when you calmly say, I don't accept this behavior, and then enforce it, you disrupt his game. The key to boundaries is consistency. If you say you won't tolerate disrespect but allow it to continue, your words lose power. A man who wants to manipulate you will notice this and use it against you. But when you set a boundary and stick to it, he has no choice but to adjust or leave. And that's exactly the point. Boundaries are not about changing other people. They are about protecting yourself. Clear communication is essential. A boundary left unspoken is a boundary waiting to be broken. If someone is crossing the line, don't assume they will figure it out on their own. Tell them. Not with anger, not with desperation, but with quiet certainty. I don't allow people to raise their voice at me. If you continue to dismiss my feelings, I will remove myself from this conversation. Short, direct, and without room for argument. Some men will act confused when you set boundaries. They'll say you're overreacting. They'll accuse you of being too sensitive or difficult. But pay attention. This isn't confusion. This is resistance. They understand your boundary perfectly. They just don't like that they can't cross it. Their confusion is an act, a way to make you second guess yourself. Don't fall for it. A man who respects you will listen. He won't need to be reminded over and over. He won't guilt trip you or try to make you feel bad for standing your ground. If someone continues to push your limits, they are showing you who they are. Believe them and walk away. The beauty of boundaries is that they don't just protect you from others, they also teach you how to value yourself. Every time you uphold a boundary, you affirm your worth. You remind yourself that your feelings matter, that your space matters, that you are not an option or a convenience. You are a person with needs, limits, and standards. And the more you enforce them, the less patience you will have for those who refuse to respect them. Setting boundaries isn't about playing games or making someone feel small. It's about self-respect. It's about creating a space where only those who truly value you are allowed to stay. And when a man realizes he can't manipulate, guilt, or pressure you into bending to his will, he won't know what to do. That kind of power is rare. And once you embrace it, you will never settle for less again. People who try to manipulate you expect a fight. They expect resistance. They expect you to defend yourself, argue, or get emotional. But what happens when you do the opposite? What happens when instead of reacting the way they want, you agree with them? That's where reverse psychology comes in. And it's one of the most powerful ways to confuse someone who tries to hurt you. Reverse psychology works because it catches people off guard. A man who is trying to control you relies on predictable reactions. If he insults you, he expects you to feel hurt. If he dismisses your feelings, he expects you to explain yourself. But when you flip the script, when you take what he says and use it against him, he loses his grip. Let's say he says, You'll never find someone better than me. Most people would argue back, trying to prove their worth. But instead of defending yourself, imagine smiling and saying, "You're probably right. I guess I'll just have to be alone forever." Suddenly, the power shifts. He was expecting insecurity. Instead, he gets confidence. And that confuses him. Another example, he accuses you of overreacting. Instead of insisting that your feelings are valid, say, "You're right. I do tend to take things too seriously sometimes." Now he has nowhere to go. He was expecting you to fight. Instead, you agreed. And now, instead of controlling the conversation, he's left unsure of what to say next. This technique works especially well with people who thrive on conflict. Some men intentionally push your buttons to get a reaction. They know that if they can make you emotional, they can control the situation. But when you stay calm and agree in an unexpected way, they don't know how to respond. They might laugh awkwardly, backtrack, or even start to question their own words. Another powerful use of reverse psychology is when someone tries to make you jealous. Let's say a man brags about how many women are interested in him. Instead of showing jealousy, say, "That's amazing. You must feel really lucky." Now he's confused. He wanted to make you feel insecure, but instead, you sound completely unbothered. Reverse psychology works best when it's delivered with confidence. The key is to stay calm, even playful. You're not agreeing out of weakness. You're agreeing to take away their control. When done right, this technique can leave a manipulative person feeling powerless. Some people might wonder, isn't this just another game? Not really. This isn't about deception. It's about refusing to play by their rules. It's about showing that their words don't have power over you. When a man realizes that his usual tactics don't work, he either stops trying or exposes his true intentions. Either way, you win. It's also important to recognize that reverse psychology isn't about avoiding real conversations. If someone genuinely wants to discuss an issue, you should address it honestly. But when someone is using words to manipulate, guilt trip, or hurt you, agreeing in an unexpected way can shut them down faster than any argument ever could. A man who tries to hurt you expects you to break, to fight back, to seek his approval. But when you use reverse psychology, you stay in control. And nothing is more confusing to a manipulator than a woman who refuses to play his game. People who try to manipulate you rely on clarity, your emotions, your reactions, your expectations. They want to know what you think, what you feel, and how you will respond. Why? Because predictability gives them control. But when you become unpredictable, when you maintain ambiguity in your words and actions, they lose their advantage. Suddenly, they don't know what to expect, and that uncertainty makes them uncomfortable. Being intentionally vague is a powerful strategy. It forces the other person to guess, to overanalyze, to wonder what's really going on. And when a man who has hurt you doesn't know where you stand, he becomes unsettled. He starts questioning himself. He starts chasing answers that you never give him. For example, let's say he asks, "Are you mad at me?" Instead of giving a direct answer like, "Yes, I am," or "No, it's fine," simply say, "Why do you ask?" This puts the focus back on him. Now he has to explain himself. He has to think about why he's asking, and in that moment, he's the one feeling unsure. Another example, he texts, "Do you still think about me?" Instead of a clear yes or no, you say, "Sometimes." Now he has no idea what that means. How often is sometimes? Does it mean you miss him? Does it mean you've moved on? He won't be able to tell, and that uncertainty will keep him wondering. Ambiguity works because it prevents someone from manipulating your emotions. If you lay all your feelings on the table, an emotionally manipulative person will use them against you. But if you remain vague, he has nothing solid to hold on to. He can't twist your words if he doesn't fully understand them. This approach also applies to your actions. If a man expects you to react a certain way, do the opposite. If he expects you to be angry, be indifferent. If he expects you to beg for answers, stay silent. When you don't respond as expected, it throws him off balance, and that makes him rethink his actions. Keeping a little mystery in your responses also makes you more intriguing. It creates a sense of unpredictability that works in your favor. A man who hurt you wants certainty. He wants to know he still has an effect on you. But when you keep him guessing, he realizes he has no control over how you feel or what you do. Of course, ambiguity doesn't mean avoiding real conversations. If something needs to be addressed, address it. But when dealing with someone who thrives on control, vagueness becomes a tool. It keeps them from getting inside your head. It prevents them from pulling you into their game. One of the simplest ways to create ambiguity is to answer questions with questions. If he says, "Do you miss me?" respond with, "What makes you ask that?" If he asks, "Are you dating someone else?" reply with, "Why does that matter?" This forces him to reveal more about his own thoughts while giving him no clarity about yours. Another method is to keep your emotions neutral. Instead of showing excitement or disappointment, stay calm. If he's expecting a reaction and you give him nothing, he won't know where he stands with you, and that uncertainty will linger in his mind far longer than any argument ever could. The key is to never let him feel like he fully understands you, because the moment he does, he can manipulate you. But when he's unsure, when he's confused, when he's constantly trying to figure you out, that's when you hold all the power. When someone hurts you, the natural instinct is often to react, to defend yourself, or to fix things. But that's exactly what a manipulative person expects. They thrive on your emotional reactions because it gives them control. That's why practicing self-care and emotional detachment is such a powerful strategy. Self-care is about putting yourself first, emotionally and physically. It's about setting boundaries, nurturing your well-being, and giving yourself the time and space you need to heal. When you prioritize your mental health, you build the strength to handle difficult situations with grace. And this strength is what confuses those who try to hurt you. When you stay calm, composed, and focused on your own needs, they lose their power over you. Taking care of yourself isn't just about pampering yourself or indulging in comforts. It's about creating a healthy distance between your emotions and the manipulative tactics of others. For instance, when you practice self-care, you learn not to internalize the hurtful things people say or do. You start to realize that their actions don't define your worth. Emotional detachment is a crucial part of self-care. It means separating your emotional state from the actions of others. When you detach emotionally, you stop reacting to what others do or say. Instead of letting their words trigger an emotional response, you become an observer of the situation. You notice their behavior, but you don't let it affect your mood or your sense of self. This emotional detachment can be incredibly perplexing to someone who is trying to manipulate you. They expect you to become upset, to try to fix things, to cry or to fight. But when you remain detached, they're left wondering why you aren't responding the way they thought you would. This uncertainty leaves them off balance, unable to predict your next move. For example, if a man tries to make you feel guilty or upset, your lack of reaction will confuse him. If he says something hurtful and you simply respond with, "I hear you," and move on, he won't know what to do next. He might expect you to beg for forgiveness or become defensive. But when you don't, it throws him off. He doesn't know how to handle your calm demeanor. And that confusion works in your favor. In practicing emotional detachment, you're also protecting yourself. You're no longer giving away your emotional energy to someone who doesn't deserve it. When you detach, you stop absorbing negativity, and that protects your peace of mind. And when your mind is at peace, you can think clearly. You can make decisions based on logic, not emotion, which prevents you from falling into the traps of manipulation. Self-care also helps you build your sense of self-worth. When you take time to nurture yourself, whether through hobbies, rest, exercise, or spending time with supportive people, You reinforce the belief that you are worthy of respect. A man who hurts you cannot take away your self-worth if you don't let him. And when you don't give him that power, he is left with nothing to manipulate. Another aspect of self-care is learning to let go. This doesn't mean you accept mistreatment, but it means you don't hold on to the anger, hurt, or resentment. Letting go of those negative emotions is freeing. It allows you to move forward with your life without being tethered to someone who wants to pull you down. When you detach emotionally, you create space for healing. And in doing so, you make it impossible for anyone to manipulate you based on your emotional responses. Ultimately, emotional detachment is not about shutting off your feelings entirely. It's about choosing when and how to invest your energy. It's about recognizing when someone is trying to provoke a reaction and deciding not to engage. The more you practice self-care and emotional detachment, the more you protect your peace and the more you perplex those who try to hurt you. They can't manipulate someone who is focused on their own well-being. In this video, we've explored powerful strategies that can help you respond effectively when a man hurts you. From understanding emotional manipulation to practicing non-reaction, setting clear boundaries, and using reverse psychology, each technique serves to protect your peace and maintain control. We've also discussed the importance of maintaining ambiguity, practicing self-care, and emotional detachment to keep others from gaining power over your emotions. Remember, the key to dealing with emotional hurt is focusing on your well-being and staying true to your dignity. You deserve to be respected, and by prioritizing your mental health and emotional boundaries, you can navigate even the most challenging situations with strength and grace. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to our channel for more empowering content. Thanks for watching and take care of yourself.